You guys ask so much about this book. Can I tell you about this book? Well, if you want to be a professional, then this book won me a couple of awards in 2010. It was published by Warner Press, and it was taken up and awarded for Books A Million's favorite book of 2010 for children at Christmas time, and a couple of other little things around here. But what this book means to me is not the success that the book had, but what it meant for me in here. So I used to pastor at a children's charity. And this children's charity had children that were both chronically ill and terminally ill. And one of my favorites, was Chrissie. And Chrissie was close to me. Her mother was close to me. And one day we lost Chrissie to the angels. And she is definitely making bracelets and doing all kinds of wonderful things very helpfully in heaven. But this did not start out as a book. It started out as the only way I knew to say goodbye to her. So I wrote this. I tried to send it to her mother. And what Brooke did was accidentally send it to her editor, because at the time I was working on a project out of Korea, and I was just so used to hitting send, and it just instantly sends to my editors. And 3 years later, I get an email that says, we would like to turn this into a book, Brooke. And I had totally forgot about it by the time. But that is the backstory of this. And I'll try to post her on my TikTok for you guys to see Chrissie and how lovely and adorable and wonderful that she was. Her last prayer was for me to ask God if he could make her mother happy. And this is why when we go through trials and tribulations, especially when it's something that I'm going through, because it takes a lot to get me to a space where I'm sad and down and depressed and not okay, really not okay. I always remember Chrissie, and I think, what would Chrissie do? WWCD. And she would be happy, and she would smile, and she would not worry, and she'd pray about it, and she'd keep living her life. So, Chrissie, this is for you, and now I'm going to read it to you guys. Chrissie's Shell by yours truly, illustrated by Mary Bausman. Can I tell you something about Miss Mary Bausman? I love Mary Bausman. I love Mary. Mary was one of the original illustrators for Kermit the Frog in the 70s. So Mary is sort of a legend in her own right. And I miss Mary. If you're out there, I miss you, and I hope that you're well. I'm going to read you my son Ben wrote in this when he was a baby, because this is his copy. How do librarians do this? You guys make it look so easy. To everyone who has ever felt empty, may God fill you to overflowing. To everyone who has ever felt less than beautiful, look again. God made you spectacular. Chrissie was a little invisible someone who lived deep inside the deepest part of the biggest forest, inside an oh so empty shell. Lots of other someones lived in that same forest, real someones. Someones with big moon-like eyes, keeping watch from the tallest trees. Someones with skinny pink tails hanging upside down from an oak branch. Even fuzzy green someones with the magical ability to turn into butterflies. Chrissie liked to watch as all the interesting creatures passed by, and sometimes she would imagine what it might be like to be one. One sunny morning, Chrissie watched from her shell as a quick-footed field mouse scurried across the forest floor. He moved so swiftly that he looked like a furry little race car, and Chrissie was used to moving at a much slower pace than a furry race car. Once Chrissie moved so slowly that she spotted a young blue lizard with a hurt leg hobbling about the forest floor. She carried him right atop her back, all the way home back to his rock, but it took a whole day to get to that little critter's home, and while the little lizard's mommy and daddy thanked Chrissie with warm hugs and slimy kisses, she knew that they probably wished a much faster creature had brought their baby home. Sure, her pace was slow, but it allowed her to see the world around her with observant eyes, but still, Chrissie wondered what it would be like to do the thing that she could not do. I'm Chrissie, she says, the speedy field mouse, she imagines. My feet are fast like a million bunnies. Chrissie sighed as she imagined herself racing through the grass and bobbing through the wild flowers, and she spent the morning deep inside a mousy daydream. Until a wayward acorn fell from above, pinging right off the top of her shell, and Chrissie peeked outside to see what was going on. To her surprise, she saw a furry little squirrel looking in. Had she done it? Had she become a field mouse? Chrissie took a look inside too, but she saw no fast feet, only darkness. She just knew it. Her shell was empty. So Chrissie tried again. This time she imagined she was a furry squirrel, climbing higher than all the other animals in the forest. Oh, to be able to see the world from way up there. Suddenly, as Chrissie was gazing way up to the treetops, she saw a tiny blue egg falling down fast. It landed smack dab in the middle of the pond, and Chrissie swam down to get it, but by that time the little blue egg was soaked. If she had been a squirrel, maybe she could have leaped right down from those tall trees, and rescued that little egg before it even touched the cold water. Sure, Chrissie was a terrific dip and diver, but still she imagined what it would be like to do the things she could not do. I'm Chrissie, the highest climbing squirrel in all the land. My furry feet can take me up, up, up into the tallest trees. Chrissie tried hard to think as many squirrel-like thoughts as she could, and she spent the afternoon deep inside a squirrely daydream. Later, with the moon as her guide, Chrissie checked to see if she had become a real squirrel. No furry body, no fluffy tail, no sharp teeth. Just as before, she found her shell was empty. The next day, she noticed a tiny hedgehog slowly passing by. His spikes looked so strong, his prickles so ferocious. Oh, to be as strong as a spiky hedgehog, she thought. I'm Chrissie, the strongest critter in the forest. I can spike up my shell with the power of a million prickles. Taking a deep breath, Chrissie tried really hard to puff out those prickles she was sure she had created. But before Chrissie could finish her hedgehoggy daydream, she began to feel a little lightheaded. Then a wayward raindrop plucked down upon her shell, and the rain fell all around her. She noticed a little firefly that was caught in the storm, and she invited it to fly beneath her shell for comfort from the rain. As the storm passed by, the firefly fluttered on its way, and Chrissie checked once more to see if her daydream had worked, but no, her shell was still empty. Chrissie felt sad. God, whispered Chrissie, if you're up there, could you make me into a real someone? A real someone, asked God. Yes, God, my shell is empty. You must have forgotten to feel it. An empty shell, you say? Yes, said Chrissie. Could you make me into a bear? Wouldn't a bear look nice inside of my shell? Well, replied God, a bear might be a little too chubby to fit inside such a small space. Okay, maybe you're right, said Chrissie. How about a bunny instead? I would make a very good bunny. A bunny? Questioned God. A cottontail might look kind of silly fluffing out the back of a shell. Yes, but Chrissie stammered. Chrissie, interrupted God, are you sure you haven't missed something? Look inside your shell again. And she did, but she saw nothing. Her shell was just as empty as ever. I told you there's no one in there, cried Chrissie. Yes, there is, assured God. There is a very smart, very creative, very wonderful little someone in there. I know her. I made her. The special person is not quick, like a field mouse. She never will be. I made her slow enough to help little lost lizards. Unlike a squirrel, she is not a steady climber. She's a sensational swimmer instead. Look in the trees, Chrissie. Do you see that nesting bluebird? She is sitting on the very egg your swimming saved. And you may not be prickly like a hedgehog, but I gave you a shell to keep you safe and warm, one that can help to protect others too. Don't you see, it's not what you can do that matters. Chrissie, it's who you are inside. I don't need another anything else in the world. All I needed was a you, and your shell is not as empty as you think. Come over to the pond, because I have something to show you. Chrissie's heart was sad as she walked slowly to the edge of the pond. She would never be a running field mouse, never a brave treetop gazing squirrel, never an oh-so-strong hedgehog, and no bear and no bunny. What good was an empty shell? Plopping down, she watched as a long star twinkled in the distance and moonlight fell across the pond. It created a picture across the water. Chrissie looked deep down into the quiet depths of the pond. Looking back at her was someone she had never noticed before. "Isn't she lovely?" asked God. "Why, yes," said Chrissie, but who is she?" "Why, that's you, little turtle." "That's you." That night, Chrissie lay awake for hours, peering across the moonlit pond. She watched in amazement as both the reflection of a real-life someone and the echoes of 1,000 twinkling stars rippled on the waves. And then Chrissie curled up inside her not-so-empty shell, and she went to sleep, where she dreamed of being herself. The end. Yeah. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalms 139:14. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you liked it. This book is out of print, but you might be able to catch it on eBay, on Amazon, maybe on Kindle. I'm not sure where all we are right now, but maybe next time. And this is only 4 out of 300. Maybe I'll read you something else one day. Maybe I'll read you some devotionals, but thanks for asking. Thanks for being curious. And if I could tell you anything today, I would tell you, if you're going to be anybody, be a Chrissie. And every year on her birthday, we let a balloon go in the sky. Shoot, I miss you, kid. Y'all have a good day. God bless you. And I hope that this touched your heart. Go love on your inner child. You deserve it.